Welcome to another episode of A Cuppa with the Conversationalist. My name is Con. I am the Conversationalist. And yes, as always, I have my latte in tow. My guest on today's episode is digital marketing expert, coach to service-based business strategist, podcast host, speaker, mama of two boys, and wannabe chocolate connoisseur, Hayley Osborne. As a serial entrepreneur, marketing consultant, and small business growth strategist, Hayley is driven by a passion to empower Australian small businesses by demystifying and simplifying marketing. Hayley recognizes small business as the backbone of our economy and is dedicated to ensuring owners harness the power of effective marketing strategies to propel their businesses forward. With a track record of working with hundreds of small business owners since her business's inception, Hayley has facilitated growth through strategic positioning, dynamic lead generation, and converting potential customers into profitable ventures. Not afraid to call BS on marketing tactics and trends that are designed to confuse and offer false hopes to business owners, her approach has not only won her accolades and deserving recognition, but has also been a testament to the tangible success stories of businesses she's transformed. And further testimony to Hayley's success, she's a highly sought after speaker and commentator, having been featured in multiple mainstream media outlets. And most recently, Hayley is being featured on Koshi's Business Builders.
Yes.
Very exciting. Welcome, Hayley.
Hello, Icon. How are you? You know, when that bio gets read out, it kind of makes me a bit like, oh, I did that. That's right. Because you're so, doing all the things in your life and just busy getting it done that you forget how far you've come and where you've been until somebody reads out your bio and you're listening. Thank you. That was lovely.
You're most welcome. Isn't it funny? One of the things that I often talk about with people is it's really important to celebrate their wins and not necessarily celebrate by popping champagne corks or buying a new Ferrari. And if you can buy the Ferrari, I'm happy to come for a test drive. but to acknowledge them and go, hey, I've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really important. And, I don't say this lightly for yourself, but it's really important that when you're about to speak or present, that the audience have a really good understanding of the credentials of the person.
Yeah,
and so
because then they take
them
more seriously.
Well, yeah.
The
the question is, why am I listening to you? Why should I listen to this episode? Well, why they should listen to this episode is because you're clearly an expert in your field, and it's really important to acknowledge that. And so I hope that's helped you in some way, shape today.
Yes, you've made my day.
Awesome.
Even though, I semi-wrote that, it's refreshing to hear it because you do forget those little things. And I something that I stress inside the community that I host, my membership, is to celebrate wins every week. We have a weekly Wednesday wins session, and because of that very reason. And you know what? I'm guilty of falling trapped to not celebrating my wins either. Because when the week's gone, you just forget. So
you move on. You move on.
Do.
So listeners, there's the first lesson for today. We've only gotten a couple of minutes into the episode, and you've got your first lesson. So celebrate your wins. Hayley, I want to talk about really, really important stuff. In your intro, you mentioned you're a wannabe chocolate connoisseur. So I want to get into the important stuff, chocolate.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Let's talk chocolate.
Look, I have a massive sweet tooth. It's not good, but I do balance that with a very healthy diet. And, I'm a bit of a sweet snob. So if you're listening to this and you're not based in South Australia or Australia, there is a brand called Hagues. And for me, that's just like the ultimate. And I'm glad they're a little bit hard to get to because that makes it better for me. But no, I have a massive sweet tooth.
I'm certainly exactly where you are. My mum, may she rest in peace, I definitely got her sweet tooth, and chocolate is definitely a weakness. Haigs actually are interstate nowadays, I reckon.
Yeah, I think they are.
I reckon they are.
Think they are.
But more importantly, what's your favourite?
Favorite Haig's chocolate?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, the Freddos. The milk chocolate Freddos. I've got some in my cupboard right now. Seems we are right on it.
Well, just to show you what a sweet tooth I am, I was given one of the 2 kilo frogs, you know, the big ones.
Yeah, I know the ones.
As a gift. I know the one, she says.
I know the one.
as a gift by about 10 years ago by a client, and I proceeded to eat the whole thing in 40 minutes.
Oh my gosh! And did you vomit after?
No, I didn't feel great, but I didn't vomit. Yes, chocolate. We could talk about chocolate. The cows come home. Yeah. Anyway, Hayley, let's get on to on some really important business as a marketing expert that you are.
Yeah,
I know you've got an enormous amount of value to bring to our audience, and I'd like to start with something that I believe there's a significant amount of synergy in what you do and what I do in terms of our ability to tell stories. Because as I say to people, facts tell, stories sell. And as a speaker and presenter, telling stories is the way that we connect with our audience. So from your perspective, making your story, making your superpower storytelling, share a bit more about that for us.
Yeah, look, I think, well, gone are the days of when you're trying to market your business, selling, if you're just going to try and sell something, it won't work. Selling on social media, and I didn't make this up, but is like throwing water balloons at a porcupine. It will just burst and it won't work. I love that saying and I use it, but I didn't make it up. But those days are dead. And so humans buy from humans, right? And people don't like to be talked to anymore. They like to be talked with. And so you can do that a lot more simpler if you are adding a sense and an element of storytelling to your marketing materials across the board. You know, how you appear on your website is how you appear on your socials, is how you are in real life. And I think there's a beautiful element of coming on board someone's story, because when you can build that which is the story, people start to like you and they resonate with your story. And then they start to trust you. And when they trust you as a business owner, they buy from you. And that's the way it works. And so if you can connect human to human, that is the way brands are moving forward. And that is what is going to be your superpower as a business owner moving forward, not just selling on your socials. It doesn't work. And so I'm really out of breath because I am about to have a baby, everybody. And okay. I didn't account for that.
Hey, this could be a first on my podcast.
Not right now.
Okay.
It is taking over my lung capacity. So I'll just slow it down a little bit. But talking to people is out. Talking with people is in. And so if you can get really good at articulating what your superhero origin story is, I like to call it, and where you came from. I have a short course inside my business called Superhero Storytelling, and it does just that. It will teach you how to go back to basics and look at reclaiming your story and what that looks like for you, because we forget. And like you said at the start where you introed me, you know, I do forget how far I've come and where I've been myself. And so if you can incorporate that into your strategy, that is a very, very good source of ammunition to have in your back pocket and arsenal when you are marketing your business. And so I think when you can learn what those content pillars are and what those caption categories are when you are storytelling to sell, you get more confident in your messaging. You understand that there's so much power in your story, and it kind of reignites your ability to be able to connect with your audience better. And therefore, then that builds that know, like, and trust, which people want. So across your marketing, you should kind of have a mixture of entertainment, education, and kind of inspirational posts, which if you can combine that with the know, like, and trust in your story, it's a really, really good fuel, I guess, fuel pit for you to show up with originality and style and grace and not selling. And you'll be surprised when you can nail your strategy. You don't need to worry about selling on your socials. That the sales come as a byproduct of that. But what I find a lot of people don't realize is that you've got to put that work in first. Mm. Everyone loves a quick win in this day and age where, you know, you can choose what you want on demand to watch. You can listen to what you want on demand in your ears. And unfortunately, when you're growing a business, it is a marathon, not a sprint, especially if you're trying to grow it through your social media. It is a marathon, not a sprint. And you have to get great at storytelling.
Mm. Interesting comment regards, you see a lot on social media, you know, people who just sell. And I love that little analogy, throwing a water balloon to a porcupine. I'm definitely going to use that, but I will credit you. But one of the things that I learned many, many years ago as a sales dinosaur is that at some point you have to ask for the order. You can educate your consumer. You can provide them all the technical details, all the options, everything. But at some point, you've got to go, so, madam, will that be cash or card?
Yeah.
What is the mix, and at what point do you think that's appropriate on social media? Is it 5-1, 20-1, 6-1? What is it?
I think you've just got to get great at the segue. We should have pressed record earlier because we did talk about this, but it's the power in the segue, right? So every single thing that you touch has to have these three things: a hook, a line, and a sinker. That's the easiest way that I can say that people will remember it, like fishing. But it's the hook at the start that gets your audience's attention. The sinker is basically the story in the middle, the insight, whatever it is that you have to, your message, excuse me. And then the sinker is the call to action. And it is between the line and the sinker that the segue has to occur. Because I do think you should sell, because we're not here for a haircut. I've got heaps of one-liners. I can't help it. I don't know why. They're all coming out right now.
Maybe there's a book there just in the one-liners.
But we're not. We, as business owners, we work really hard. And so you have to get really good at the hook, line, sinker. And yeah, it's between that hook, which brings your audience in, which is your story, the insight in the story in the middle, and then getting really clear on that segue to convert and have that call to action at the end. So it all starts off with a story, but you've got to wrap it up. And you know, it takes practice, and there is an art to that.
Oh yes, indeed. Moving on from that, which is I see as a natural progression, is one of the things, again, from a marketing perspective or business school, is what is your unique selling proposition? In other words, what makes you different? Because the reality of life is that in every industry, there are competitors, and certainly in some areas, and typically where you have a low barrier to entry, there's going to be more competition, and as there's a higher barrier to entry, there's going to be less competition. What are the key elements in terms of portraying yourself as the go-to or the expert in your field?
Yeah. So do you want to know me, or do you want to know what my answer is? You want to know what my answer is, or both? So my answer, if you are listening and you're thinking, I don't have unique selling points, I don't know where to start, I use a framework inside of my business called MAPS. And that acronym stands for Market, Audience, Problem, and Solution. And I have developed this over the years of always going back to the same things when I'm working with clients. And I've found that this is what works. So that lies in your transformation message. That is your transformation message. That's what forms your transformation message, which then goes into forming your unique selling points. Okay. So if you can't articulate that well, that's kind of like your elevator pitch, then you won't be able to do the rest well. So that's where you will start. So figure out who your target market is, what is the problem that you solve, and therefore what is the transformation that you provide? Because people don't care about you, excuse me, they care about how you can help them. Okay, so if I was to meet you at a networking event, if I was to meet you at a barbecue on a Sunday, at the sports pitch, with my kids, and you said to me, what do you do? I would say to you, I help people to create activities and strategies around marketing so they can have the biggest growth in their business with the least amount of time and effort. And then the question that most people say from that is, oh, cool, how do you do that? And then that is your entry point to talk about how you do that, right? Cool, I do that through my membership. I do that through my podcast. I do that through my one-on-one coaching, marketing strategy, right? And so that hasn't come easy to me. That's evolved over the years. It might change in the future, but to be able to nail that is the first starting point to develop your unique selling points after that. And I find that when you do, then from there, I bet you wish you never asked me this. I love this stuff so much.
Really? It doesn't show.
When you've got like your messaging right, so you've got that transformation message right, then you can look at furthering along what your unique selling points are. Then you can have a look at what your digital assets look like, how they are positioned, and if they are aligned, and making sure that your digital assets are in complete alignment. And then the third part of that for me is to make sure that all of your social media is optimized, as well as your website. Therefore, you can increase sales. But it starts at the top. Yep.
So I've said this to guests before. This is almost like a free consult. I do the podcast for free consults. No, not true.
One of my unique selling points is that I've had years of experience with large global brands in different industries, creating millions of dollars for them. So I've worked on this for myself as well. That's one of my unique selling points. That kind of stems away from the main one.
I'm curious. This is going completely off track, but I think it's really, really important because there are in today's world with all the digital options that are available, entry to business is so much less. So we're finding a lot more, I guess, a younger demographic who are actually starting businesses, whatever it is. And one of the common things that I hear from younger people is, well, if I'm speaking to somebody who's older than I am, how do I justify and or explain that I know what I know or I'm good at what I do because I'm so young? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things I look at yourself, and you're young, and so how do you? What's your conversation with some of your clients that potentially are older and or older school in terms of your, I guess, your credentials, your credibility, or why they should be listening to you?
I think, and I do get this question a lot as well, it's about building that street cred. Okay. So if you know your stuff, so I have a marketing degree as a foundation, which, to be quite honest, when I got my marketing degree, there was no social media. So that wasn't even a thing. But then I went on as my first job to create all of the Instagram pages for the Brown-Forman family of brands. So for Australia, Jack Daniels, Southern Comfort, Chambord,
Wow,
vodka, tequila, rums, you name it. So I think if you are young and you are looking to prove yourself, the first thing you need to do is be featured as a credible source in media to build trust. And also, if I was starting out again and I didn't have the corporate experience that I have working with global brands, I would offer to teach people for free and coach them for free and do social media strategies for free, maybe 10 or so. And I would make sure that the proviso was, if I can get you results, then you need to provide me with a Facebook review, a Google review, and a video testimonial for free. And that is how you build credibility, because there is nothing like social proof. Because you can say you're amazing until the cows come home, but there is nothing like someone else saying how great you are. And that's how you do it. Pitching yourself to media is free if you know how to do it. So I think that's what I would say to young people is, and what I've found too, and this might be out of school talk or whatever, but young people don't want to work. They don't want to put in the hard work. Not all, but, you know, honestly, when I finished my marketing degree, I would have applied for 100 jobs and I would have got 2 interviews. And that made me so happy. And now it doesn't seem like it's like that. So if you want to be recognized by your peers and by people that are older than you and more experienced, you have to put in the work and prove yourself. Because otherwise, I mean, I wouldn't work with someone that I knew hadn't had any results, even if they said that they did. And I have come across, especially recently, businesses who have come to work with me who have been burnt by other people where they have not delivered on what they have said. They, are not supported in the way that they thought they would be. Now, it probably takes 2 to tango.
Yeah, sure.
Except, you know, you've got to back yourself with what you're saying. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, absolutely it does.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's a very similar conversation I had the other day with somebody. And it's a sign of the times, really. It's a sign of the times. COVID has changed a lot of things, and the labour market is very, very different to what it was, and they have significantly higher expectations than they may have had 10 to 15 years ago. And but
yeah,
it is
and
what
I
it
know
is.
in certain industries too, right, where say sort of if you are studying occupational therapy at university, it is a higher score to get in. And there is a shortage at the moment of occupational therapists. And so those that are fresh out of uni with no experience are asking for a higher wage with more work-life balance and all the things.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Et cetera, et cetera. And it's that is the way it is. You can't change that.
Moving on.
Next.
No, it's fascinating. It's fascinating stuff. Socio-economic stuff, always fascinating. Let's talk. And again, you've provided so much value already, and I really appreciate the volume of stuff that you're sharing with the audience here. Let's talk about. You talk about your 3 best marketing strategies.
Yeah.
Take us through that.
Well, I think this kind of leads on well from what we spoke about before. So I think I like to call them doing top of funnel activities. Okay. So where you are doing one thing and you are reaching many people. So that one thing sits at the top of your funnel and you're bringing people in through your funnel. So whether that be appearing as a guest on a podcast, right, where it is you are talking to somebody and they are sharing it with their audience and it is not your audience. So that is really important as an activity. Whether you are pitching or appearing in media outlets, you are reaching a wider audience that is not your audience, and it is at one-to-many. So doing as much top of funnel activities as you possibly can. The second part of that, or the second kind of strategy would be, is once you have done that, you've got to be able to support what will come to you in terms of an influx in inquiries and people wanting to work with you. And so if you don't have things set up to capture that data that is coming in, you are missing out on a big piece of that puzzle. So for me, that would be getting people onto my database, because that is my own asset. that is one of the biggest strategies that I have, is being able to support the incoming influx. So I'm a guest on your podcast, and some listeners might be curious to learn more about me. What can I offer them? They'll either listen to my podcast or they will sign up to my database. And that's the idea. And they might sign up just through putting their name and email, or they might sign up to get something like, I have a checklist, which is the 10 essentials every small business marketing plan needs. And it is a checklist. And in exchange for their name and email, they can have that checklist. I'm doing another little lead freebie at the moment, which I think will help people. And it is the 10 posts that you need to get people through your door on your socials. Because so many people ask me these questions. And I thought, well, if I can put this in a guide that's free, this helps people to trust me and hopefully builds their business. Now, the objective here, yes, it's to get people to work with me, but the bigger objective, one of my highest values, is education. And if I can educate as many business owners as I possibly can, small business owners are the backbone of our Australian economy. And you said that in my bio. And so it's my duty, well, what I can give back is to upskill and educate as many business owners as possible to appear and set themselves up forward, front facing as their best version of themselves to stimulate our economy. You know, my kids are going to grow up in a great place. So that's my thing. And so that's kind of like number two. And then the third one, and we do tend to do this well as business owners, but it could be done better, is to develop a really good word of mouth strategy. And so I think those three things combined will really help you. And obviously, you know, you need to have a bit of a marketing plan, a plan of attack. You need to, if you don't have a social media strategy these days as well, I think you're throwing spaghetti at the wall. It is the most powerful marketing platform the world has ever seen. And if you have a business and you're not using it to your advantage and you know this, I just think you're crazy. Instagram alone, I know, get ready for the data, but Instagram alone has 2.35 billion monthly active users. So that's just Instagram. That's not LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. And if you can capture 1% of that audience for your business, that's 230,000. And I know the stats because I've just recorded a podcast episode recently on it. 230,000. So think, as a business owner, if 230,000, if you had 230,000 calls tomorrow to say, we want you to MC this event, or we want you to come into our corporate office, you'd be like, I can't support that. Not even in the next 5 years. And so when you break it down to those small percentages of that audience, it's like, well, why aren't I investing either time to educate yourself or money to upskill yourself and have a fast-tracked approach to be able to smash this out the ballpark? You have a finite window of energy and time. And I just think it's crazy that more business owners aren't doing this better. That was a really long answer to your question.
You're a female version of Gary V.
You reckon? I could do better if my lungs weren't like
he goes on about that all the time. Like it's
clever.
It costs you nothing other than some time to create some content.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm the person that you and he are speaking to, because I'm not taking advantage of social media anywhere near as much as I should. And speaking to other business owners who I communicate with, you know, regularly within my circles, is there's an element of a perfectionism in terms of, I've got to get this content right. There's an element of fear of judgment, like, oh my God, you're posting that, or well, that's not actually correct. And then, you know, the old keyboard warriors. And then the aspect of fear of actually being seen.
Yes. I think the fear of being seen are one of the biggest fears I find with clients, is that, what if I do become successful?
Yeah.
Wow. I hope so.
It's just, it defies logic. And even as these words are coming out of my mouth, I'm going, Con, you're an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? You know?
Yeah. And for those people then that are thinking, and I know that you are, if you're listening, you're like, but I don't want to bare my soul on my socials. And that's what so many people do. I'm here to tell you that you don't need to. I have two small children and they do not appear in my socials at all. I do not show their faces. They are not my porn. They are going about, I am a full-time mum, and they just do their thing. I do showcase that I am a mum. I don't hide away from that. I never share their names and I never share them, because I have a strategy. And most clients that come to me are like, we love that about you because I'm here for a reason and that I do want you to like me, but I've got other things in my world that I share. And so I think that's really important on coming up with the ideas of, well, what else do you have in your life that you can bring to life that doesn't cross that personal line for you? And I feel like social media is a can of worms where you don't need to bare your soul, but lots of people think that they do. When done right, they don't as business owners. You don't need to. And I
And
actually,
and look, I've mentioned before in terms of I really value what you do or what you don't do, i.e., put your kids on social media. It's not something that I would do, but I see people out there that do. I'm not an advocate of it.
it's okay if you want to, that's
But
fine.
yeah,
But lots of people
if you want
don't,
to,
and
yeah,
they feel like they don't have a way
yeah,
out. Well, if I'm going to show up as my best self, I need to show my whole life. Well, you don't.
mm,
So there's lots of things that I don't share. But if you know me, if you are one of my clients, if you're in my membership, we would talk offline or whatever. If you know me, I'll share the world with you. I'll give
yeah,
you as much help and love and support and
mm,
everything that you need. But not to a faceless platform. And if you're part of my email list, then you get a bit more, right? You get
yes.
a bit more education and you get a bit more like love there too, because
Mm.
that then takes it offline and into my world.
What I want to talk about briefly is the email list. In other words, your the database.
Yeah.
There's a I from a statistical perspective, obviously the opening rates of emails, over the last 10 years have come down. So they're not what they were 10, 15 years ago. Um, but a lot of people that I speak to don't seem to value that database because their perspective is, I've got it on social media. But if social media were to disappear tomorrow, all you have is your database, which, as you pointed out before, it's your asset.
Mm.
And so the importance of having that database where that funnel can feed into, but also the importance of continuing to grow it as a significant asset to your business.
Yeah, it's massive. So someone could report you on social media for being a competitor or something like that. And all of a sudden, the main way that you like talk to your audience is over and stopped and closed and blocked and whatever. Or you could get hacked or whatever. So
Mm.
your email list is like the number one thing that I think that you need to nurture. So if you sign up to my we have all signed up to an email list where they send 2 or 3 emails a day, like
Yeah.
retail outlets, and we're all very quick to subscribe. So these days, we don't hand out emails over lightly to anyone. But if I do hand my email over to you and then I don't hear from you, it's kind of like spamming in reverse. You added me, I wanted to be part of your database because I wanted to hear what you had to say, but now you're not sharing anything with me. And it's like, oh, bugger. And so, second to that, it's like you need to nurture that database, right? Whether it's I send an email a week, but I've got a strategy around what that looks like. It starts from the top. I'm not on a hamster wheel with my content and it filters down for the week. And there's a very big plan around how, what, where, when. And so it can be done. I have a weekly email that goes out. It is very easy when you know how. Or if you're thinking, oh, I can't support that in my business. Well, you can when you get into a routine. If I can do it, anyone can do it. But it's either fortnightly or monthly, but you have to nurture that database. And if you're talking 1 email a month, it's only 12 a year, right? And if you have a structure around your email, bit of a welcome, what's been happening lately at the start, a bit of a educational piece in the middle about, upskilling them with something or whatever it is that you do. The end, you finish off with a positive quote. That's an easy way to get started, but how you start is never how you finish. And that is the beauty of that. And like you said, to your point where you get stuck on perfectionism and then you don't do anything. Let me say this to you, is done is better than perfect every single time. And that is like my motto. I send out little packs when people join my membership. There's a pad in there. There's a few other things. And on top of the notepad, it says done is better than perfect. So that you're reminded that, get it done. It's better than perfect, because the only way you're going to know if it resonates with your audience is if you get it out there or not. And,
Yeah.
you have to have an element of getting over yourself a little bit, because
you got not a little element, a big element.
Let's be honest. Yeah, it's really hard. So incorporate that done is better than perfect. How you start is never how you end, ever. But you have to get started, and that's how you build confidence. It's the same as probably the first time maybe not you, but you stand up and talk to a group of people that want to hear from you, is you're really, really nervous. But then the second time you do it, that's not like that. And then the third and the fourth, and the crowds get bigger, and you lean into it, because your body doesn't put that fear mechanism up anymore. It's the same as how you appear on your socials. When you know how, you do better. When you show up, you become more confident. If you wait until you're confident to show up, that will never, ever happen.
You'll never show up.
I want to say one more thing about the email list too, is if you're thinking of scaling your business and you want to sell your business as an exit strategy down the line, you want to retire, whatever, the more people you have on your database, the chances of you adding an extra zero to your sale price are huge. Because databases that are organic, that are, true, that are engaged, are like gold to people that, may want to purchase your business. And then, it just is so much better.
Yeah,
You're like, oh my God, Hayley, you're telling me too much.
What are you? Well, stop apologizing. Here's a little lesson for you. One of the things that I tell people to stop doing is apologizing. One of the things, I always ask people, what's one of the most common and often words that you use during the course of the day? And invariably it's sorry. And here you are apologizing. You're delivering absolute liquid gold, and you're apologizing for it. Anyway, we digress. Absolute gold. What's interesting, what you just mentioned, Hayley, about the monetary value, or the potential monetary value of the database, is certainly not something that I ever thought of. Not that there's any surprises there, but and I hazard to say that there would probably be a lot of people out there that didn't think about that.
It's huge. When you think about how many business owners buy databases that aren't authentic to them, like you would have some emails that end up in your email box and you're like, I didn't subscribe to that. Well, I didn't. Yeah. There you go. And so if you've got a database with that, you can prove you have a really healthy open rate of emails. So healthy right now is about 35 to 38% open rate. Okay, which is a really good open rate. Any less, you've got work to do on your subjects, on your preview text, what is in your emails. Any more, then cheers to you. Great job.
Okay, so let's spend a little bit of time on emails. So there's, from an open rate perspective, I get that, 35% is good. Obviously, if you've got links in your email, whether it's, linked to a program you may be selling, or linked to your podcast or whatever it is. So my email is pretty much what you said. So, a bit of an educational piece, podcast, quote, and then, here's some options on how you can work with me if you want. Nothing, quite soft. And so that's what I do. Now, there's links in there. In terms of interaction with that email, how do we judge that in relation to our open rate? Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So they're two different metrics.
Yeah.
So when someone opens your email, it means that the subject matter in the preview text is something that they want to read.
Right. Okay.
Or it's from you and they love you and they want to consume everything that you do, touch, see, whatever. And then when they start reading it, if it is of relevance to them and they click on it, that's the click rate, the click-through rate. And so that, I guess, is even better when people start clicking on. And there's something I love to do. And if every week I go and see like what my open rate was, not that day usually. So I send an email on a Tuesday afternoon, normally every Tuesday. And then Friday I'll go in and check what the open rate was, because you need to give people a few days to look at their emails and the click-through rate and unsubscribe. And I always look and I'm like, I'm so tempted, because some people that unsubscribe, I know, and I want to message them and say, why did you unsubscribe from my email list today? I'm just curious. I'm not offended, but I just want to know. So they're really good like things to do, and also cleaning your email list too. So if you go through, you get people that their emails bounce for one reason or another. They may have switched email addresses or left that job, or, you know, I mean, I upgraded my email recently, so that's probably happening to a few people. They've moved on, closed the URL, shut down businesses, whatever. You want to clear out those people and have a really clean list. And then depending on the email host that you use, you can see if like the same person doesn't open your emails consistently. And so then you don't want them on your database either. So you take them off. They don't even know that they're not getting them anymore. Because that's kind of like a waste too.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff. One thing that's really interesting that has come up quite a bit during our conversation is the word plan. And it just reminds me of the old saying, failing to plan is planning to fail.
Yes, I love that one. That's another one I use sometimes.
Yeah. I think you and I could probably do a joint venture here, because people say to me, you got so many one-liners.
One-liners. Yeah. They just come out too when I'm on fire. It's great.
The book of one-liners. Hayley, it's been a lot of fun, and I honestly could talk to you for days and days and days.
We could, couldn't we?
And maybe there's, well, not maybe, let's do a follow-up in due course. I'm sure we'll get quite a few comments and feedback in relation to our content. Just before we go, let's talk about Hayley's 3 top tips to somebody's in a, you know, they don't have a real plan. They're hodgepodge. They're a bit here, they're a bit there. They're really not getting the results that they want. Okay, Hayley's 3 top tips to get them going.
So nail your transformation message. That's the first one. That is the foundational thing that you need to get right. And then the second one is plaster that equally across everywhere that you are: website, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all those places. And then thirdly, look at optimizing your social media. Or optimize your social media and your website. So if they're not optimized, working to the best of their ability, then we have a problem. So know that done is better than perfect. Revisit these things. They are not stagnant. Okay. So you will get lost in the mix if you don't add anything to your website for months. So your website needs a blog. It needs to have updated content. Your social media, your bio changes depending on what you're doing. You need to have pinned posts. You need to, like, your brand needs to synergize everywhere that you touch. So they're my top 3.
I'm going to write that down. Synergize. So say that again.
Your brand or business, personal brand, needs to be in alignment everywhere you touch.
Alignment everywhere you touch. Fantastic. I've written that one down. Hayley, thank you so much. For our audience, listeners and viewers, I'll have all of Hayley's contact details in the show notes, and encourage, if you've got any, Hayley obviously is an absolute wealth of knowledge and information, and credible knowledge for that matter. And I encourage any of the business owners out there, or anybody that's thinking about starting a business, reach out to Hayley and start consuming some of her content. Hayley, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Con. I have had a lovely chat with you.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Con. I am the Conversationalist, and until next time, bye for now.